This is my explanation of why, as an anti-theist, I took the time to make a video in praise of a few Christians. There are a couple of things I need to say up front. First, I'm talking about Christians because Christianity is the religion that I know best, but the broader points I want to make apply to theism in general. I'm not conflating Christianity and theism so much as I'm using Christians that I'm familiar with as examples of the points that I want to make about theism. Second, I'm not a fan of religion, which I hope would be obvious, but more to the point, I'm not even a fan of so-called moderate theism. I say this because I think it would be easy to misunderstand my position as an endorsement of smiley-faced religious people who nonetheless embrace and promote an array of fucked-up propositions that aren't doing the world a bit of good. I recognize the harm that can be done by moderate theism, and I really don't want to shy away from that. But my focus is on theists who are standing well outside of the norm and engaging with the world in a very different way. I was partly inspired to do this by Ian Clark, whose channel I only recently discovered and highly recommend. One of Ian's videos calls out another YouTuber on the bad habit of overgeneralizing when talking about theists. He made some good points about the non-homogeneous nature of theist and atheist communities. I appreciated his analysis, and it comes at a time when the flaws of us versus them thinking has been weighing on my mind a lot lately. Lumping all theists together isn't any more useful or accurate than lumping all atheists together. There may be a lot of between-group variance, but we have to acknowledge the in-group variance as well because it's significant. There are racist, homophobic atheists, and there are theists who support gay marriage and stem cell research. To paint atheists as innately rational ethical beings and theists as knuckle-dragging hate-mongers simply isn't accurate. The correlation between the belief in God and the harm done to the world by religion is not inherent. The trouble isn't that people believe in God. It's in how that God is defined, it's in all of the additional propositions relating to that God, and it's in what they do with that belief along with the satellite beliefs that accompany it. Someone sitting somewhere with a belief in their head that, hey, I think there's a divine being, maybe someone engaging in irrational magical thinking, but they aren't now inherently harmful to the world around them because of that belief. And I think as atheists and anti-theists, we have to leave room for that. The magical thinking that underlies religious belief isn't purely endemic to religion. It's something that even the most rational, intelligent people are occasionally guilty of. Atheists are guilty of it too, very obviously so. It's human, and I think it will probably be with us into the distant future. That doesn't mean that I think we shouldn't resist it and keep up the struggle against our own human shortcomings. It just means that theism isn't the source of irrationality. It's just one symptom of it. So I'm less interested in weeding out the sin of irrationality as I am in weeding out the harm done to the world because of it. Someone can hold an irrational belief without doing any harm to the world, and more importantly, it's possible to do rational, helpful things with irrational beliefs. People who believe in a God are not my enemy. The belief in a God by itself is not my enemy. The issue is what a theist is doing with that belief. If you have a belief in a God and you aren't interfering in other people's lives and beliefs, then I have no reason to combat that belief. It's only when the belief intrudes on other people's freedom and well-being that it becomes something I feel the need to fight. Since so much damage is being done by the additional propositions and behaviors associated with theism, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that it isn't the belief in God by itself that's doing the harm. Theistic belief can, and historically does, lend itself to doing harm. But it's important to recognize that it doesn't have to be this way, and there are choices involved in how theism manifests itself in the world. One way to demonstrate that the correlation of theism with harm to the world isn't necessarily inherent is to show some positive examples of theists who are able to maintain their beliefs without doing harm, and more to the point, actually doing concrete good for other human beings, or in some cases even non-human beings, even when the recipients of their goodwill do not and will never share their beliefs. I'm talking about a special breed of theists who don't need you to accept their religious propositions to lend a hand. Theists who are able to embrace scientific methodology without distortion and respect the separation of church and state. What I want to do is acknowledge theists who are examples of what I consider to be perfectly acceptable theism. As an anti-theist, I know that might sound contradictory, and I will probably eventually have to make another video to explain exactly what I mean by that, but for now, I'm just going to leave it aside and confirm that yes, I am an anti-theist, but that doesn't mean I'm automatically at war with everyone who believes in a God. So the people in my favorite Christians video are ones who represent something that I have no intention of fighting, that there is no reason to fight. That doesn't mean I'm endorsing their core belief as rational, but their core belief doesn't have to be rational for me to recognize that these are people I share values with, people who I respect and would consider allies. Fundamentally, we're on the same side. I have more in common with them than I do with the racist, homophobic, misogynist atheist. These theists may be deriving their values from a different source than me, and I might believe my own reasons are more rational than theirs, but that doesn't really matter when we're actually striving for the same results. This is partly a wake-up call to atheists to intellectually allow for the existence of this rarer breed of reasonable theists, and to keep them in mind before making insulting generalizations. This is also an encouragement for theists to follow in the footsteps of other believers who are worthy of emulation, in my opinion, and worthy even of the respect of non-believers like myself. To the extent that theists and atheists are able to identify common goals, we can move forward for a better future together. And really, what else could we possibly be hoping for?